All right, let's start today with Ukraine and what is being talked about at the World Economic Forum. So I'm sure you've been watching a lot of the sessions that have been coming out of Ukraine. I'm sorry, it's hard to keep them straight, but out of Davos, seeing the different commentary. Yesterday, we featured the story here about Henry Kissinger.
Yes.
Henry Kissinger, of course, who is a warmonger and who is responsible for the deaths of millions of people, came out and was like a dove yesterday at Davos. Basically, hey, the only way for this to end is for Ukraine to give up territory. Give up territory to the Russians. That's it. You're done. Give up territory to the Russians and hand over the eastern Donbas region. Don't even fight over it. Make sure that you're not going to invade Crimea anytime soon. And that let's let bygones be bygones. That was his assessment. Well, then today we have George Soros. George Soros from the World Economic Forum in Davos coming out and saying that civilization may not survive Putin's war. And I have a few quotes from George Soros here, if I can pull them up here. I believe I do.
So we're just going to call this apocalyptic
Yeah.
because the tone is, well, it's too bad we have to have this war and, it may kill us all.
Yeah, so here is George Soros. Sorry, I didn't have the clip in there. That could be the end of our civilization, he said, insisting that we must mobilize all our resources to bring the war to an end early end. Man, I can't read today. The best and perhaps only way to preserve our civilization is to defeat Putin as soon as possible, he added. Okay, so what he's calling for, of course, now is the total destruction of Putin. And we've heard this from Western leaders, by the way. We've heard this from President Biden, who said this guy can't continue. And so people are questioning Sleepy Joe. They're like, what's going on here? Are you literally calling for regime change? Like you're calling for the overthrow of this leader? We heard from Senator Lindsey Graham, of course, who, God knows, I've interviewed that guy a million times, and he will always go where the prevailing winds are. And Senator Lindsey Graham said, we basically need to take this guy out. This only ends with us taking this guy out. So now you have the World Economic Forum. You have George Soros, billionaire George Soros, who funds just about every political movement you can think of, right? Saying our civilization will not survive, that we need to eliminate Putin. And this comes at an interesting time because today we got video of these Ukrainian soldiers in the Donbas region who are basically saying we don't have any weapons, and we're not going to fight with these weapons, with this lack of weapons. I'm just going to play a little bit of audio here because I know we have some of you who prefer to hear the actual audio. So I'm going to play a little bit of it here for some context so you know that I'm not talking over them.
Ми, бійці Черкаської тероборони, з місцем дислокації в місті Сміла. З невстановлених причин була переведена до Луганської тероборони. На даний час дислокуємося в Донецькій області, записуємо це звернення для роз'яснення ситуації, яка склалася в нашому батальйоні.
So they are saying, we are Ukrainian fighters from the, I'm going to turn this audio down here just so you can hear me. We are Ukrainian, and I'm quoting now from the transcript from these soldiers. We are Ukrainian fighters from the Cherkasy Territorial Defense Battalion. And I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sure someone will correct me. Cherkasy Territorial Defense Battalion. We are currently in Donetsk. We have been given orders, but we don't have any heavy weaponry. We were never provided any heavy weaponry. After our enduring battle, our first battle, we have many wounded and dead. We refuse to fight under these conditions. That's what they're saying. You can see reading from a transcript right there. That's what these individuals are saying. So reading from this transcript, pretty interesting to say that we are not going to fight under these conditions. These are our wounded and dead. We don't have any heavy weaponry. And that's why there's been this big push for heavy weapons, right?
Yes.
We saw today, Scott Ritter sent us this. And here is some video of, let me pull up this video. This is video today of howitzers arriving. So here is new video of howitzers arriving. And Scott asks this question. Now, Scott, of course, former weapons inspector in Iraq. He was the guy that basically said, hey, there are no weapons of mass destruction. And he says that you have to wonder, he says, why why all of these weapons are going into Ukraine right now. He says these are Excalibur is a true one-shot, one-kill munitions. Thousands have been provided to Ukraine, according to Scott, by the
What
U.S.
does
and
that
Canada.
mean? One shot, one
That
kill.
these are,
Single use.
and again, I'm not a military expert, but these, according to the weapons experts that we speak to, they have communication GPS equipment installed. They have antennas for measuring the, as he says, the muzzle velocity of the projectile of these Excalibur rounds. And Scott Ritter says the Excalibur is a true one-shot, one-kill munition. Thousands have been provided to Ukraine by the U.S. and Canada, he says. The Ukrainian army spent weeks in Germany learning how to employ this weapon. It's also important, as Philip says, it's very accurate, right? And Scott says, look, make no mistake about it. People are going to be absolutely destroyed. Scores of Russians will be killed. And he says that's an inescapable fact. And here's what Scott has to say further about what's been happening in this region and to why the Russians are dismantling these defenses piece by piece by piece. So I guess if you pull all of this together, you could say this is over for Ukraine. Unless these heavy weapons are allowed to arrive and George Soros gets his wish, which is that Western powers literally just pour as many heavy weapons as they possibly can into this region. We got word today in the Black Sea that there could be Western powers could be coming together to move towards the Black Sea. Russia says if you do that, that's an escalation. I wouldn't do that. I would absolutely not move into this region. Absolutely don't come into Odessa. And we showed you all the mines that were there. So here's Scott Ritter on exactly how the Russian army has dismantled the Ukrainian army piece by piece by piece. Listen to Scott.
Russia's achieving this. It's masterful. Anybody that says it's not doesn't know what they're talking about. It's a stunning military victory that I believe will be studied for some time now. Not too many people understand what the truth is on the ground there. The Russians are going up against a defensive line that is as developed and fortified as any that's existed in the history of modern war. We're talking about interlocking defenses, concrete reinforced bunkers, trenches, artillery with pre-registered fires. The whole works is there, and the Russians are dismantling it piece by piece by piece. And they're maximizing enemy casualties, minimizing their own.
So minimizing their own. So he says, he's curious when he asks this question, when Scott asks this question, it's like, how are these weapons allowed to arrive in Ukraine? How are these things even able to be there? Like, why aren't they destroyed yet? And maybe by the time, maybe by tomorrow they will be, because we have other reports.
Because if we can see it, so can the Russian government, clearly.
Right. So we see
and
these things coming in.
I want to go back to when I said, what does that mean? One shot, one kill. Philip clarifies that it does not mean it's single use. It can be used repeatedly. It is just extremely accurate and deadly.
Okay, good. This is why, and we are not military experts, although we do have family members in the military and we do have plenty of military sources here on the show, but that's, and we don't fire guns here on a regular basis.
No.
Violence
is the last thing I want to talk about on a day like today, but it
we
is a part of our world.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a part of our, it's so sad when these images come on television and, our kids are like, oh, what is that? Is that Ukraine? Is that Russia? What is that? And they just see these like bombed out buildings. Like, no, sorry, son, that's not Ukraine. That's Yemen. Or, we have on Al Jazeera or flipping through CNN or whatever it happens to be on the TV and we're flipping through. It's like, what is that? Oh, no, that's Somalia. No, that's not Ukraine. That's just another bomb out region right now. That's just another global theater that we're dealing with.
This comes on the back of the story we did yesterday about how most of the weapons we've sent so far, we being the United States, were obsolete and kind of musty, right?
Right.
They weren't working well. So who's to say if this is not just like, oh, we're going to show you our stuff. This is a follow-up to, you didn't like that? We're going to show you the good stuff now. We'll leave it to the last.
Right. So I want to get your thoughts. Like, that could be the end of our civilization, George Soros says. We have to mobilize all of our resources to bring the war to an end early. And it's amazing to see the House of Representatives, like last night, literally come together on bipartisan lines, like to make sure that they push for another vote on making sure that we get additional aid to Ukraine.
Yes. And then leaving before any discussion about gun control, right?
Right.
Like, well, we've got Memorial Day holiday, we got to go. It's interesting because this assumes only one outcome, right? This George Soros quote is, it will be the end of us all unless we end Russia, right? But is there some kind of alternative? Like, is there peace to be spoken of? Is there some kind of alternative where more Eastern powers in charge is a good thing? I'm not saying that's the case, but there's no discussion of anything other than West takes over, shuts this down, right? Defeat this person, defeat this. And of course, their fear is that Putin's army just continues to move further and further west. But no rational discussion is allowed at this point, and it's terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely terrifying. Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. You know, we've been banned, we've been blocked, we've been censored. That's why we started our own website, to stay connected with you for free.
That's right. So head on over to redacted.inc and make sure you're connected with us. You can sign up again at redacted.inc, not .com.